Welcome, bienvenue dans la grotte du dragon, in the lair of the dragon, where there is rock and roll 24/7. Yours truly, independent artist, athlete, philosopher, 1/7 comedian. Votre artiste, athlète, indépendant, philosophe, un septième comédien, vous envoie de l'amour. Et mon message principal a été cela. Avec consentement, donnez-vous un câlin comme jamais avant. My main message is, with consent, give yourselves a hug like you never hugged before today. In my name, Rainbow Dragon Adrian Hanna Dragon Rebirthing this COVID. Votre dragon arc-en-ciel qui est en train de renaître durant ce COVID. Je vous envoie l'amour, et je vous encourage tous et toutes à faire de l'entraînement physique régulièrement. L'entraînement physique a été sera ma médecine et thérapie de choix. I encourage you all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and shall continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. 77 pounds down, created on workout training program system. Ayant créé mon propre système d'entraînement physique en octobre 2019 et ayant perdu 77 livres, je fais appel au financement par un partenaire public-privé, un PPP, pour financer les gens à faire de l'entraînement physique régulièrement. I encourage you all to work out and have been and will continue to call for a match financing via a public-private partnership across Canada and the collective North American civilization for citizens to be financed and encouraged and incentivized to work out, to train, and to exercise. So regular physical activity. Regular physical activity has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. L'entraînement physique a été sera ma médecine et thérapie de choix et je vous encourage fortement. Mais avant que je continue, we're gonna go in franglais, en franglais. De l'île de Montréal, la métropole de 2,5 millions. Je vous envoie l'amour à travers la belle province jusqu'aux îles de la Madeleine, sending all the way to île de la Madeleine and coast to coast and back. Throughout North American for world peace, pour la paix mondiale. Franglais. Franglais is our style here in Montreal. We switch from English to French and French and English. Sometimes in the middle of the phrase, we go halfway in English or halfway in French, and then we finish the phrase in English or vice versa in French, whether we began in French or in English and vice versa. Si on a commencé en français, des fois la phrase, on dit la moitié de la phrase en français, l'autre moitié en anglais, fait qu'on fait du va-et-vient des fois la phrase, une phrase qu'on dit de 11 mots, 10 mots, 5 en français, 5 en anglais, ça on commence par le français puis on finit par l'anglais. Fait que spécial, rock and roll franglais, une édition spéciale, special edition, we're gonna discuss, analyze the Barbenheimer cultural phenomenon, the cultural phenomenon of Barbenheimer today. But before I do proceed, as always, I want to express my gratitude as it is. 1:55 p.m. today on this 16th of August beginning. This is a new moon today. Goddess, Goddess, la déesse. So, non-dogmatic, non-sectarian, non-dogmatic. I have spiritual questions I don't know at all. So here I present to you Coffee with yours truly, Rainbow Dragon. We're going to discuss the Barbenheimer phenomenon. Before I go on, I want to express my gratitude. Month of August, my rent is fully paid. Fully paid my rent, fully paid my electricity bill, and I got food afterwards this to tango. Food on a budget. Thank you, farmers of Quebec, la belle province, because everybody got it, even multi-millionaires, and of course, it is super important. And food security starts with our brothers and sisters, farmers across North America, whom I'm sending some big hugs. So grateful, thankful that my rent's paid. Grateful, thankful that my electricity bill is paid. Electricity bill is paid. Rent is paid and got food. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, public security workers, public workers who are changing those aqueducts now, and the aqueducts and the sewers, doing the public works, the maintenance of the cities, those who pick up the garbage every week, those who pick up the compost every week, those who compost the garbage, and of course the recycling every week. Our public works of North America, public works go, Infrastructure Renewal Act, much needed, and yours truly going to discuss Oppenheimer, Barbie and Oppenheimer's the Barbenheimer cultural phenomenon. I'm going to discuss this from a psychological, spiritual, intellectual perspective, and the social cultural dynamics, and of course for the body and for the mind and for the spirit. And we're going to rock and roll 24/7 in the lair of the dragon for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, pour les fermiers de la belle province, les fermiers, les camionneurs, les travailleurs publics qui changent nos aqueducs puis nos égouts, De l'amour puis du rock'n'roll pour vous, hein? 24 heures sur 24. Si vous ne parlez pas d'amour, je veux bien savoir, monsieur, bonjour. Votre artiste athlète indépendant philosophe vous envoie l'amour. Les pompiers qui sont en train d'avoir travaillé dans le passé, qui sont en train d'aller dans le nord du Québec pour les feux, j'envoie de l'amour, des câlins, des bisous, puis du rock'n'roll pour vous, puis j'offre. Parce que j'aime offrir plus que du blablabla. Parce que la théorie, la philosophie, c'est des fois à moitié chemin. Il faut ça prend de l'action, ça prend des muscles, ça prend des cerveaux pour maintenir la civilisation, puis pour avancer, pour la bâtir, ça a pris des muscles et des cerveaux. Ça, c'est une de mes premises en tant que philosophe. Puis bien sûr que j'avais présenté ma thèse au début de 2023 au monde, en tant que docteur du peuple. Mes chers citoyens, concitoyennes, j'essaie d'être un bon samaritain arc-en-ciel, votre dragon, mais la civilisation, hein, c'est un privilège, hein, tout ça qu'on a, comme, surtout le collectif de citoyens nord-américains, donc nous autres, les Québécois, Québécoises, on fait partie. So I always say I presented my thesis, or my premises, and my thesis is, of course, my brothers and sisters, that civilization is a privilege, and of course that we form, Quebecers, Canadians, and North Americans, we form a collective North American civilization, which encompasses Mexico, Canada, and US, and it's emerging, right? So I'm going to discuss Barbenheimer from a psychological, even spiritual dimension, more new spiritual dimensions, because I am a spiritual seeker and a universal spiritual universal spiritual teaching student. Try to be non-dogmatic, but I do have questions, so I'm going to inflect on psychological matters, sociological matters, in the cultural phenomenon known as by Barbenheimer. Donc, je vais faire une analyse d'une manière psychologique, sociale, de philosophie avec un peu de comédie et du rock'n'roll, du phénomène culturel qui s'appelle, c'est le Barbenheimer. Barbenheimer, qu'est-ce que c'est, d'où ça vient? Ben, ça vient des deux films, bien sûr, qui s'appellent le Barbie puis l'Oppenheimer. Puis si vous ne les avez pas vus, je recommande d'aller les voir parce que moi, je les ai aimés au point que j'irai encore les voir une deuxième fois, même Oppenheimer puis Barbie. So if you haven't seen Barbie, the movie Barbie or Oppenheimer, I would see them twice. So that means that are highly rated. Both of them I really enjoyed. And Oppenheimer, I would want to see it again, and I probably will. And of course, Barbie, I want to see it again. But there's also a fusion because they were released on the same weekend. So we had this cultural phenomenon known as Barbenheimer, and people were going to the movies seeing both Oppenheimer and Barbie on the same day. Il y a ce phénomène culturel qui ont fait une fusion de Barbenheimer ensemble, Barbie, le film Barbie, puis Oppenheimer ensemble, ils sont allés les voir, même film durant le jour. Puis, du café. Coffee with Dragon, rock and roll, du café avec du dragon. This is work for me. Ça, c'est du travail pour moi. Puis, bien sûr que je suis ouvert pour les affaires. I am open for business. So if you want a more commission, more videos, movie analysis with rock and roll perspective and analysis and what I think for current cultural dynamics, societal dynamics, and psychological or physical, philosophic perspectives, even sexual perspectives or whatever it is, de manière, si vous voulez, plus d'analyse de votre dragon arc-en-ciel d'une manière sociale, la manière philosophique, la manière culturelle, ou quoi que ce soit, puis avec du rock'n'roll puis de la comédie, parce que l'humour puis dans ma grotte, il y a du rock'n'roll puis de la comédie 24 sur 24. In the Dragon's Lair, there's rock and roll and comedy, sometimes serious matters, because I'm also a geopolitical analyst and theorist. Des fois, des choses sérieuses, parce que je suis aussi un analyste indépendant en géopolitique, dans la géopolitique. Puis, bien sûr que mes idées, puis ma théorie, que nous autres, les Québécois, Québécoises, les Canadiens, puis les Nord-Américains, on constitue un collectif de civilisation nord-américaine d'un côte à côte, d'un océan à l'autre, l'Atlantique au Pacifique. Puis, moi, personnellement, je ne me considère pas, je ne me vois pas. Pas le sentiment d'être un membre d'une diaspora. Je dis toujours, vous êtes. Moi, je suis québécois, canadien, canadien, français, québécois, canadien, canadien, québécois, ou vice-versa, québécois, canadien, et nord-américain. Puis, j'étais né dans une autre vie. Aux États-Unis, j'ai servi 2 fois dans l'armée américaine en 1776. I always say that I'm a North American, Canadian, Quebecer, or Quebecer, Canadian, North American. And yes, I want world peace, je veux la paix mondiale, mais I am a North American in the cultural, in the perspective, I am much a North American dans le sens culturel, social. Je suis un Nord-Américain avec mes propres idées en tant qu'individu de ce grand collectif civilisationnel, citoyen dragon, in this big collective civilization and universal hearted and for world peace. But I am also an individual with my own nature, my own imperfections, un individu aussi avec ma propre nature, qui n'est pas parfaite, loin de là, des fois. J'ai l'Asperger's hautement fonctionnel. ben, l'Asperger, c'est dans le fond autisme hautement fonctionnel. Fait que je peux avoir des tics quand je parle, des gestes en public qui sont mal compris. I have highly functional autism, which is known as Asperger, so highly functional. I do everything, cook, clean, read, do everything. Je fais du tout parce que c'est hautement fonctionnel, mais c'est quelque chose que je vis avec. I live with Asperger's, and that's it. That's all rock and roll. And I can have tics, like I can repeat things, I can say things twice or thrice, or I can have tics even in public. Sometimes it's awkward due to Asperger's, but it's I have highly functional autism. So I cook, I clean, I do everything under the sun. Je fais tout en dessous du soleil, puis comme avoir l'autisme hautement fonctionnel qui s'appelle l'Asperger's, mais je peux avoir des gestes puis des choses que je répète des fois dans la vidéo. Peut-être je vais faire des tics ou des choses, je vais passer le café d'une manière bizarre qui est un peu bizarre, mais c'est l'Asperger's. It's Asperger's, that's what it is, and of course I live with it as I also live with a focal retrograde amnesia. I cannot access memories more than about a few years, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Je vis aussi avec l'amnésie focale rétrograde, que ça s'appelle. C'est la misère à accéder des mémoires là, en plus que 7, 8, 9 ans. Puis, où j'avais une blessure à la tête, où je vivais avant, c'était la moisissure. Puis, where I used to live before, it was a lot of mold, a lot of mold, a lot of mold. But I've been doing a lot of healing in the past years, and I'm still healing every day. And we all need a little bit of healing and some hugging. And with consent, hug like you never hugged before is my message. And gratitude. And I always say food security starts with the farmers. Thank you, farmers. Big dragon hugs to the farmers. Yeah, rock and roll getting us those potatoes and the carrots and the lettuce and the wheat and the barley to us to eat. Maintain civilization, because even the billionaires on Wall Street gotta eat. Even the billionaires on that Wall Street gotta eat. I said even the billionaires on that Wall Street gotta eat. Parce que même les millionnaires, les milliardaires, faut qu'ils mangent. Ah ouais, Céline, Pelado, finance. Les fermiers de la belle province, parce qu'ils ont des problèmes avec la boue. Now farmers in Quebec, saluting them, they're having a little bit of a difficulty to harvest due to too much rain. Excessive rain has caused a little bit of mud. So now, logistically, the trucks and of course the tractors have a little problem to get in. So in the past week, going on my marches, there was a lot of mud. So I was doing a lot of meditation on possible logistics, and I'm sure that, like we call ourselves here, le bon peuple is gonna find some solutions as well. As we have a lot of genius here, and to my brothers and sisters from the United States, yours truly know that I was born twice in the past lives in the USA, was served twice in the U.S. Army post 1776, and I invite you to come have tourists here. Come see us. We love to have tourists in Quebec, and we have great culture, great cuisine, great wines. Like this, great little zero wines, great little liquors and food and cuisine and culture and lots of things to see. Il y a bien des choses à voir dans Belle Province. J'invite toujours le tourisme qui viennent nous voir en Belle Province parce qu'on a de la culture, on a grosse ville à voir, Québec, Montréal, puis ben la rivière, la métropole, ma place préférée, le Mont-Royal, le Belvédère, Condiadonac, qu'on voit la ville, que c'est une meilleure place au monde pour moi personnellement. It's my home. It's my second home is on Mont-Royal for me. Ma deuxième maison, c'est sur Mont-Royal. Please pick up off yourselves when you go in the forest. Don't leave garbage. S'il vous plaît, prenez vos déchets et mettez-les dans les poubelles parce que vous êtes en public. Puis partenariat public-privé parce que on a des choses publiques-privées. Comme moi, je suis dans mon privé maintenant, dans ma grotte. I'm in my private lair. But of course, I can do XYZ activities. Gotta clean some dust, write some rock and roll, write some poetry, write some email, and I'm work now. I consider this my work, and have been doing a lot of work during COVID. Put in more marching steps than all the generals of NATO. J'ai mis plus de marches de pied en bas de Cap d'Acier que tous les généraux de l'armée de l'OTAN, en partenariat public-privé pour l'OTAN go, NATO go, OLP Secure, East, West, North, South, North American Rebirth pour la renaissance de l'Amérique du Nord. Je chante, puis je danse, puis je marche. For marching for the rebirth of the North American Civilizational Collective, and we got a lot of work to do, and I got a lot of work to do here, and it's work with our artistic, athletic, philosophic as an independent, albeit I'm financially struggling, but I'm rich, affluent, super wealthy in philosophy, art, creativity, rock and roll. Même si je suis en crise financière, je suis très riche en art, la créativité, la poésie, des chansons, puis un petit peu de comédie, puis la philosophie, puis de la théorie. J'ai un peu de muscle, puis un peu de cerveau. I got a little bit of muscle and a little bit of brain, but not perfect, far from it. And of course, sometimes I'm straightforward and direct. Des fois, je suis quand même direct dans certaines choses, puis des fois, c'est that's it, that's all, rock and roll. Puis la gratitude, c'est super important pour moi. Gratitude is super important. And again, thank you for the coffee. I'm going to enjoy a little bit of coffee. And we're going to rock and roll Barbenheimer. On prend un peu de café, puis the rock and roll Barbenheimer. Thank you, farmers and the producers of coffee. And I guess import it because we don't produce it here in North America. So, very good. A little bit dark in my third cup of the day. So, let's rock and roll. So, again, if you haven't seen Barbie or Oppenheimer, I recommend to go see a spoiler alert. I'm going to discuss it. Si vous n'avez pas vu Barbie et Oppenheimer, je vous encourage à aller les voir. Moi, je serais prêt à aller voir encore une deuxième fois les films. Puis bien sûr, j'ai des idées de films de cinéma québécois moi aussi. I got ideas for Canadian, North American, Quebecer, French, Quebec. Ideas for movies and scripts and dialogues. If you need any services like that, creating with dialogues or whatever, XYZ, and I'm open for business 24/7. Je suis ouvert pour les affaires 24 sur 24. Pour la renaissance de la belle province, de chez nous, il faut voir pour le croire. Votre Arc-En-Ciel, il faut le voir pour le croire. Barbenheimer, Oppenheimer. So two movies which are complementary in a paradoxical way. So what do I mean by that? That's the meaning that these movies reflect kind of the 20th and the 21st century. So Oppenheimer, of course, it's the scientist and revolves around nuclear fission and the atom bomb. Powerful, strong weaponry. Power, strength, force. Fire, right? Fire, force, strength. Wow. Fire, bomb, the most powerful weapon of destruction, powerful weapon, nuclear weapon. How does that complement? How does that go together with Barbie? How come this cultural phenomenon Barbenheimer? They seem to be very opposite, kind of in could say in conflict. However, I see a complementary there, and instead of conflict, I see complementarity. I see counterbalance, right? Because just like the use of force, because of lethal force, our brothers and sisters in the armed forces, salute. It's something which it's always part of us, force. But force by itself alone, we cannot just be ruled by force, right? By strength, by force, by brute force, but strength. It takes part of it, some brain and some muscle. Now our brothers and sisters in the farms of Quebec, they're utilizing brains and muscle to go on the highways. They're muscling up to change the aqueducts in my city, the sewers. They're rock and rolling. They take brains. The construction workers, and I always say, my brothers, is when we talk about building more social housing, I see a lot about on the politicians discussing on the news, but I very not even the other day I was listening 13 minutes and 3-4 seconds discussion and never once was mentioning that my brothers and sisters. I love, I got love in my heart, but first and foremost it's our brothers and sisters or construction workers, which are in the construction workers. The construction workers, they gotta be saluted, they gotta be encouraged, they gotta be supported because it's them that in steel toe boots put the cement with the cranes, and I'm a lover of cranes. It's them first and foremost on the ground, building from the ground up with cement, with steel, with rocks, with instruments, right? They're building the houses. So it's them first and foremost. I gotta be saluted and say they're grateful for. I can rock and roll for them, do philosophy, but I admire it. Like construction, man, building big buildings. Just in my neighborhood, there's big residential buildings. Sometimes I meditate. There's thousands of people. It's big buildings, residential buildings, which we have in Montreal, right? Building with houses or apartment complex, social housing. First and foremost, it's the construction workers. They gotta be saluted. They gotta be cheered on. They gotta be encouraged. Just like I think the firefighters, the farmers, right? It's food security starts with the farms. Go farmers, go, right? It's important. So force. So our civilization, especially in the 21st century, it cannot just be by force, right? Because force. And I always say I have aggression within myself as well. I admit it. I have aggression, but my brothers and sisters, I channel it, man. Channeling and sublimating, two keywords of that of my philosophy of living. Channeling, understanding. Sometimes I'm moody, upset, and I've been depressed and suicidal. I've conquered it, and it's important to channel and sublimate. As we feel moody, I've got to accept it, internalize it, and sometimes take action, because action has been required in my own healing and transformation, and it will be required for us as a whole, that action, whether working out, training, and exercising, and then encouraging it in a public-private partnership manner, PPP, right? Corporations and governments working together. I believe 21st century is a public-private partnership future for now. Just like the forces represented by, and in the movie Oppenheimer, of force, of fire, of strength, right? The nuclear energy, fission, atom, poof, big powerful weapon, right? Big power, strength, force has to be complemented. We cannot be ruled just like by one aspect, by one dimension, right? Just strength and force. We have to have other things that guide us in our daily living, in our living in harmony with each other, right? To love and understanding, right? Without so that we harm none. Like I always say, my brothers and sisters, you can say you have the right to say a lot of things, freedom of speech and all that. But you're not allowed to make threats, right? If I go in public, you can say, call me a POS. Sometimes I am, call me a whatever name, whatever. We're not allowed to make threats, and we're not allowed to for defamation, to defame and stuff like that, right? It's always a balance, always a harmony. We're not allowed to make threats, right? That's it. That's all. Kind of sometimes it's simplifying things. Yeah, not allowed to make threats, threaten people, other citizens, and to try to be a good Samaritan, try to be a whatever help. If I march, if I go to the mountain, and anybody recognizes me or whatever, dragon, whatever. And if you need a hug, hey, rainbow dragon, Adrian dragon. Androgynous pansexual fond of the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. You need a hug, 5 minute hug. I say, I gotta get there, but I'll give you a hug. No problem. Just ask. Gotta just ask policy. I might ask, you're vaccinated and hygiene is important, open carry my disinfectant. But I recognize the need to be loved myself and to also people who also they need love. Love is an important function. And sometimes love is action. Can I get a tickle or kisses I got by the trillion? So can I get a kiss? Can I get my neck's hurting, right? If you're a firefighter or whatever, construction worker, public works, who just put out an aqueduct. Hey Dragon, I heard your video. I'm a public works, and he's wearing the. Can I get a 5 minute, 10 minute, just a neck rub? Sure, got you. I go into the mountain, but no problem. I got 5, 10 minutes. I could, because my neck's killing me. It's not enough pay. I cannot afford a massage therapy session. So that's the Barbie compliment. Some love and understanding, right? For the body for pleasure, for purpose. So they kind of go together. So there's deep dimensions in this cultural phenomenon which kind of encompass our society where we are today and where we have been in the 20th century and in the 21st century, right? Because Oppenheimer has that dark undertones, and it's a paradox, but it's a complementary one. The paradox of Oppenheimer fusing together that strength, that force, and that dark undertone with possibility for catastrophe, right? Just like analyzing why, like when somebody's suicidal, it doesn't make sense to be moody, etc. Sometimes it's psychological, past trauma, past hidden desires, hidden fears, hidden lusts, right? I say sometimes, jokingly, but in a true manner. I mean, I love gridiron football, NFL Go, and please donate to charity, women's sports, and food security, and give the farmers a discount on those tickets. And as much as I love football, I love sports. I'm physically active, highly physically active. I've become during COVID a super physically active, the people's athlete for the farmers, butchers, bakers, public workers who pick up the garbage, pick up the recycling. I do push-ups for them. I do for the farmers first and foremost. Push-ups for the construction workers. Push-ups. Dragon Army. We channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. That's one of the mottos. Because you gotta be channeled, brothers and sisters. You have to sublimate it. Sometimes best. I could use X, Y, Z. I could, if I could be of some service with consent, mutual understanding, love, and hygiene. To be of service. Consent, mutual understanding, love, and hygiene. Consent, mutual understanding, love, and hygiene. Consent, mutual understanding, love, and hygiene. That's really all is required, right? All is required. Have the feelings which matter, the emotions, right? Feelings have to be complemented. We cannot just base all our things by logic and mathematics. And Oppenheimer kind of represents that force, strength, but also the rational, but also rational, just logic, mathematics, code, right? Oppenheimer has that dark tones, has a kind of dark feel to the movie, and of course we see the explosion. It kind of has that music which kind of reflects that fire, that power, that strength, which is embodied in what Oppenheimer is about, Manhattan Project, the development of the first nuclear warheads, and we have during the Cold War from 1947 to 1989. Do the math, 1989 minus 1947, that's 42 years. 42 years there was the development of so many nuclear warheads by the USSR, known back then as the Soviet Union, and the current and the United States, what's known as the period as the Cold War, which lasted more or less about from 1947 to 1989. So more than 42 years. Some say 1991 because that's when the official dissolution of the Soviet Union, but I kind of say 1989 due to November 1989 when the Berlin Wall kind of fell, because that's when kind of communism, socialism kind of started falling in Eastern Europe and in Europe though, because it's communism, socialism, paradox, which I'm not going to go into a discussion of, but paradoxically, since 1989, China, the People's Republic of China, has risen, and it's still what they call Marxism or socialism with Chinese characteristics. We have to. That's another paradox which I've discussed in the past, and I've discussed in the future on my geopolitical analysis and theories. Geopolitical analysis and theories. So Oppenheimer represents that, so force, strength, right? The atom bomb, potential for greatness. And then Barbie, colorful, cheerful, body embracing, pleasure embracing, more Dionysian. Dionysian, I'm saying Dionysian, reflecting as the referring to the ancient deity of Dionysus, which was involved with pleasure and revelry and drinking and stuff like that, which they have to go together, right? Because we have to have some pleasure in life, in civilization, like eating to be a pleasure, get a massage, and whatever it is, activities that are pleasurable for one, to take a bath and kiss and hug and whatever it is, those activities for the pleasure. For some, it could be going to a strip club. I enjoy having a drink at a strip club. For me, it's that Dionysian. And if I would ever own a strip club, let it be known that if I ever own a strip club, farmers gonna get discounts. Farmers first on the list, because even strippers gotta eat. It's gonna be a rainbow. It's gonna be a special Rainbow Dragon Club. It's gonna be farmers gonna get discounts. Construction workers gonna get discounts. And public works. So those who work in the public, like changing the aqueducts, picking up the garbage, picking up the compost. Public Works will get discounts. It's gonna be a public-private partnership. What do you say, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister, let go and let's open up government, public-private, first Rainbow Dragon strip. So Barbie is that candy type of atmosphere, that pleasure party. Although in Barbie there's also discussions which are relevant today, which are hidden. Right? It's deep. It has deep undertones in the dialogue. You have to analyze it and see how current reflections about interactions and about business and corporations and of course the status quo versus change and the establishment versus change and all those themes, right? But of course the main theme overall is of course Barbie, and it has that colorful kind of Candyland type of pleasure and fun and lots of colors, right? There's lots of colors in Barbie and dancing and singing, so all that pleasure and fun part of our lives, which has to be also counterbalanced with seriousness, balance, just like force. So Oppenheimer represents this more forceful power, and of course the building of the atom bomb, right? We have satellites. We have satellites, high technology, science, and also strength and force. Right? The atom bomb can be a bomb of destruction, right? Destruction on a mass scale, weapons of mass destruction, the atom bomb. So that strength, that force, embodied in the movie Oppenheimer, with a more pleasure, more Dionysian, I'm going to use this word again, more Dionysian, which relate to more love and understanding, as reflected in the characters of Barbie and Ken, right? As they're, you see tensions and you see things like jealousies and things like, wanting to belong and dating and love and pleasure and of course aesthetics, beauty, right? The aesthetical beauty of the costumes and fit, right? The Kens are fit always, like a lot of times they're involved in physical fitness. You see the gym, or you see them in doing exercise and doing this and that. And Barbies, of course, to take care of the aesthetics, the costumes, the dresses, right? It could be sexy, it could be sexy, or more revealing, or it could be pleasurable for pleasurable, more of the pleasure side of life, of civilization. So I reflect this from a North American civilizational perspective, and of course we can go say Western civilization perspective, but it has a universal kind of themes to it, where we are in the 21st century with globalization and interactions between cultures and states and peoples. But fundamentally, it has those components in both movies which are complementary and which can be from a psychological perspective, right? So it could be the hidden fears. Oppenheimer could represent a lot of hidden fears which we have due to having achieved this tremendous weapon of destruction, which is so forceful, force and power, a weapon of force, right? It's fire. It's just destructive. It's just right, which we have atom bombs, right? And that complementary to the more understanding of our nature and nature to love, to be loved, and to have a sense of community, of belonging, right? The Kens and the Barbies, and then coming together, right? Coming together, having fun, having parties, or having culture, music, dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport, so activities such as that, complemented by Oppenheimer, which had, of course, could reflect even in the music and the dark tones, our hidden fears. We're closer than perhaps ever we've been to a nuclear war now, paradoxically, calling for peace. We need to channel and we need to sublimate aggression. I admit myself, I do have aggression. I have it, I admit it. I have so many flaws and faults. But my brothers and sisters, man, channel it. I sublimate it. It's not hasn't been easy. It's you have so much potential. Like so much potential. With somebody who's a child to be seems more aggressive or has bully tendencies has to be the student channeled and sublimated to be given a big hug to say, hey, let's make some push-ups, and then can you do more than me? To be directed, to be channeled to sports activities, to physical fitness, channeled, sublimated. Right, so that we have harmony, continuing harmony here in the collective North American civilization and even beyond, right? It needs to be channeled. Sometimes the individual and the collective. And then we have the Barbie with multicolor, colorful atmosphere, cheerful atmosphere, right? Counterpoised with the potential for destruction by Oppenheimer and the force and the fire, the strength, which have to be complemented because we have, right? And strength, force, we still use it, right? My brothers, sisters now working in farming and all the construction works, and now doing the public works. I'm doing a meditation, all the public works now across Quebec, La Belle Province, Canada, and North America. Sending them some big hugs to the firefighters, right? Love you, firefighters, big dragon hugs. Love you, love you, love you. Right? I have to intervene. I have the strength, the muscle to save somebody, to do some good, right? It's some muscle is required still, some strength is required still. But our civilization is to balance the individual and our collective responsibilities and our individual rights and liberties to be balanced by some duties and responsibilities. Right? When I go out on my marches and work out, my duty and responsibility is to harm none, and I'm, I'm not allowed to make any threats to a fellow citizen. I can sing rock and roll. I can, and I do. I record. I chant. I rock and roll a lot. I dance in the streets. Yeah, it's allowed. I can do push-ups. I can look at somebody, with lust or whatever. Right. I cannot make death threats. I can look. I can. And it's not to understand and not to make violence and to do violence. And if I get aggressive, I analyze myself and harm none, and I do some push-ups. See, do some push-ups. I go for a run. I go for a march. Just like sexuality has to be channeled and sublimated. Because if I repress it, I'm gonna get ill, gonna get sick, gonna bite my nails. And me, rainbow dragon, having those lusts and those whatever it is desires, to maybe I don't know, sleep with a Dwayne Johnson, which I wouldn't mind, by the way, or a few of the San Francisco 49ers. There are many. It's not only calins in the NFL who's part of the LGBTQ community, but for XYZ reasons, of course, we repress and we hit it. But there, I'm sure there's one on each team of the NFL, so there's at least one of the NHL, NFL, NBA, and so on. But one, because statistically, it's not possible. Out of 30 players, not to be even one. Out of 10, there's one who is LGBTQ, bisexual, or gay, or whatever it is. I'm pansexual. But that's another team, another reflection. And Barbie could probably represent that, even sexual liberation, and so that which hasn't come without blood, sweat, and tears for myself, for many, for Canadians, Quebecers, for North Americans, right? We have sexuality is part of us, and just like aggression, it needs to be channeled and sublimated to do art. Gonna clean my room, right? Gonna clean my room. Got dusting to do on a special new moon today, right? But in my public, I can masturbate. In my private, I could close the blinds though. In my private, I can masturbate. In public, no, because there could be children, there could be this and that. Although it's a dialogue. What if I would be a judge and I'm the judge and the person masturbates? I'm probably gonna say, what are solutions are we gonna find? Somebody who has this, I don't know, he masturbates in public. As a judge, if I would have that case in front of me, I would probably start laughing. It's like, can't you do it in a bush? Come on, real in a bush, and when somebody passes, just zip up and take a few steps. Because judgment also has to be tempered by understanding, right? By a certain understanding, right? By a certain level of compassion. And for example, if you're my friend and or XYZ or my ally and army, thou art family, pledge your legions, and you work out and say, ah man, I can't afford a massage therapy session. I wish I could. I mean, if I'm your friend or whatever, it's, well, you know what? Okay, you can't afford a massage therapy session, but come here. Do you want? You want one? You want 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Oh yeah, I'll definitely say yeah for sure. Dude. That's compassion through action in my school of compassion, because saying because if he's there say my neck's killing me and it's too pricey, too expensive, I cannot afford to go to get a massage therapy session. If I'm there, I would say too bad. I would offer something. I would offer something. I would just offer something. Man. I got you. You need. I'll try them. Got small hands, tiny feet, tiny little androgynous scar, but could probably do you somewhere. But my elbow doesn't do something like that. Whatever it is the case may be. So Barbie and Oppenheimer reflects those aspects of our civilization and where we are now in the 21st century and what we have been through maybe in the 20th century. A lot of wars, a lot of conflicts come from this lack of understanding our own natures, right? And sometimes we're not easily to admit, right? To admit it, to I mean, myself, I've been on the open for being LGBTQ for many years now, and I've I'm I'm at peace. I'm happy with who I am, and I like receiving even pleasure, and if I can in any way, just with consent, hygiene, mutual understanding, and it's all good. And I like working out, training, and exercising. I consider the body to be a temple for pleasure and purpose. I'm an artist, athlete, and I'm not perfect, far from it, and try to do best. And with Asperger's, highly functional autism, which is Asperger's, highly functional. I can be sometimes weird in public. I might interact with people and I don't know, might just flip my fingers and just do some weird tics. Like tics is part of Asperger's, highly functional autism, or might repeat things, or might drink my bottle for the left and pass it to the right, or stuff like that, and might ask some bizarre questions. But it is what it is, and I live with it as some live with all sorts of things. We live through, and I live for today, carpe diem it every day as I died of COVID. It's gonna be 3.5 years in September since I almost died of COVID back in February 20th. 2020. It was very sickle and disease in many ways. I did die. I'm being reborn now during COVID, and I want my rebirth and the rebirth for us to live in harmony in the collective North American civilization and for world peace. So Barbie reflects that more pleasurable, artistic, even artistic part which we need, arts, dancing and singing, and aesthetics, right, and color in our lives. While Oppenheimer is more that scientific, kind of cold, but yet with force and fire, because it speaks about the atom bomb, and we see in the movie we see the bomb exploding, all that power, all that force, right, concentration of force, power explode. Right? But this phenomenon, which is of course called Barbenheimer, paradoxically, it's a cultural phenomenon. Now people are meant to see both on the same day. A fusion. So it's exactly kind of what we need and where we are and how we have struggled for decades now to fuse and to have harmony and fuse and counterbalance the strength, the force with the understanding, the love. Just like take gridiron, North American football, Canadian football, American football, hut hut hut, which I love. Of course, there's also cheerleadings, right? Cheerleaders who cheerlead. So that's also part could be seen on the field. To it's a physical sport of force, strength, 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 and tactics, but strength. And then on the field, you got cheerleaders which are more playful, more of the aesthetic, the artistic side, right? And the halftime show, the Super Bowl, right? It's arts, it's culture, it's for pleasure. So you have these forces which have to be complementary, right? Not in contradiction and not in conflict. Two keywords, not in conflict and not in contradiction. So Oppenheimer can dance with Barbie in civilization. In the Western civilization, North American collective civilizational complex, or the collective North American civilizational complex, as I call it as a philosopher, and the world for that matter, right? Because it's not just the USA has nuclear bombs, China has nuclear bombs, India, Pakistan, and Russia, which Russia detains all the weaponry, the nuclear warheads which were built during the Cold War by the USSR, right? It's and other countries have it, right? A few other countries, not that many, but France, England have nuclear weaponry due to the Manhattan Project. At the beginning, the first was Robert Oppenheimer, who was the chief scientist at what was called the Manhattan Project, right? So the force and the strength and the power has to be complemented, counterbalanced by Dionysian love, understanding of our nature, and for us to have pleasure, to give pleasure, receive pleasure, and love and be loved, right? Barbie, because it's fundamentally love story. Fundamentally, it has love, right? It's about relationship and love and pleasure and art and Barbie and Ken, right? Ken, Barbie and Ken. So with the dancing, with the fitness and the pleasure of the body, the aesthetics, right? They're seen as working out a lot and taking care of their bodies, and Barbie and Kens and the houses are colorful and artistic, and the playfulness, the music, the arts, right? All these Dionysian freedoms, right? The freedom to dance, to love, to kiss, go to go a little bit wild as well, right? Complemented by the scientific, logical aspects of Robert Oppenheimer, one of the great scientific minds of the 20th century, and the movie and the development of the atom bomb. And those forces, the strength, the force, the fire, and the scientific, have to be complementary in our civilization, global civilization, North American civilizational complex, Western civilization. We have it. So they have to work together collectively, complementary, to not be in conflict. So it's a work in progress. Today, it's a work in progress. Today, it's happening, right? My brothers and sisters now utilizing some strength and force and fire for, right? When I see the picking up the garbage every week, it's loading. It takes some muscle, it takes some strength in those big machines throughout North America, which we have big machines to pick up the compost and the garbage, right? We have big machines, big cranes, force strength to build skyscrapers, right? And now changing the aqueducts. We have big machines and strength and force is required. They're wearing steel toe boots in the farms, in the construction workers, and in the steel works, making steel and metal and They're working with the steel toe boots and now changing the aqueducts, the sewers to the left, to the right of me, because once every few decades or so, the aqueducts need changing, the sewers need changing, because civilization requires for the maintenance some brain and some muscle, right? For for us to have built civilization, which is a privilege, has required some brains and some muscle, right? Some brains and some muscle. So now, we from the 20th century, with the liberation, new liberations, freedom, liberties, and new scientific developments of a great transformational kind, has led us to a lot of conflict, a lot of tensions in the 20th century, right? Where words, a lot of it have to do with not understanding our own natures, and to us struggle to channel and sublimate those forces which are within us, right? And strength, like strength can be force. Firefighters need to be very forceful sometimes, very strength, right? In certain situations, right? They have to be certain situations where force and strength, they have to manifest, right? Because our civilization requires both the forces of Oppenheimer, Robert Oppenheimer, the scientific, the strength, the forces embodied in the development of nuclear weaponry, nuclear force, nuclear technologies, ICBM rockets, and the nuclear bomb, and of course the Barbie, which the movie is a indication of those forces, which are for pleasure, right? More Dionysian, which I categorize as being Dionysian, meaning the more freedom for pleasure to dance, a little bit of their wild dancing, their singing, the melodies, the arts, the artistic, the cultural, the body appreciation, the aesthetics, the costumes. Barbie was very colorful, had a lot of color, had a lot of rainbow, had a lot of different themes, also some more profound themes in the dialogue, but had to do with love, right? With love, Ken and Barbie and their relationships and what have you, and the Kens and how they take care of the body and the aesthetics and the manicures, the whole garments, and of course whatever it is, and whatever it is that they were doing was all had to do under the umbrella term known as the Dionysian aspect of our civilization as a culture, right? We have that in ourselves, and we have that as as myself as an individual, that desire for pleasure, to be loved and to love, and to give love, right? Whether of a physical kind, of a psychological kind, of a philosophical kind, by arts, or by just giving somebody a good massage, just giving a good hug, giving some kisses, right? Giving a foot massage, whatever it is, right? So that's part of the Barbie movie, that parts of our civilization. While Oppenheimer reflected that strength, that power, right? That strength, that power, that scientific, and the force and the strength, which is part of our civilization as well. And now, my brothers and sisters, utilize some of that strength, right? Now, in moving patients in the hospitals, right? Requires some strength. Putting from bed in our elderly centers, elderly care centers. It requires both the Barbie, both the Oppenheimer, sometimes to go together, to dance together. The strength and the force and the fire with the understanding of our natures, which we are for beauty, for aesthetics, for pleasure, for arts, for dancing, for music, right? A part of us, the artistic, the cultural, the embodiment of the movie Barbie. The arts, the taking care of the body, the love, the pleasure, that's Barbie. Oppenheimer is more what we have as strength, force, and fire, and scientific developments, right? And they have to be and to work together, and it has been a long process for us to attain liberty and individual and an individual nature, and then collective. The individual, myself, Rainbow Dragon, and the collective, La Belle Province, Quebec, my province, and my family, because I consider Quebecers to be my family. And like I said to one of my fellow citizens on the mountain, and said to me, someone had a little discussion, and I said, I consider you to be my family, and your father's my family, and all the Quebecers are my family, and Canada, coast to coast, are a family. And reminds me on a few years ago, what got me out of being depressed and suicidal was going coast to coast. So I crossed with my anonymous friend coast to coast. 3.5 days took us from Montreal to Vancouver to reach all the way to Vancouver, British Columbia. 3.5 days. Wow, that was such an adventure. So I didn't realize such a country I have. Coast to coast, so many people, so many things, so many cities I haven't seen in Canada, in Quebec, across coast to coast. So going on that summer a few years ago, crossing Canada first, went from Montreal, I think it was end of July, to British Columbia in Vancouver, and then came back from Montreal to Halifax by train. By train, took 25 hours. So I realized that I came out at that moment, that event, a few weeks, got me out of being depressed, got me out of being suicidal. So many things I have to live for. So I started working out, training, and I've been working for many years now during COVID. And I'm open for business as an artist, athlete, philosopher. Of course, I'm open for business 24/7, rock and roll, and I rock it for the farmers. And let's do a meditation now. In what situations or events those Oppenheimer are utilized now? The forces of Oppenheimer now, of course, could be truckers, right? Loading, unloading the trucks, the rigs, the farmers trying to get bales, or trying to the public works in Montreal who are changing the sewers now. Big sewers, big aqueducts, steel, cement, cement and steel, steel and cement. They're changing the aqueducts, going underneath. Thank you, salute you, rock and roll for you, public works, public works, public workers. And the steel toe boots with the cement and the steel. Yep, I salute. With the cement and the steel, I salute. With the cement and the steel, I salute. Because they're utilizing more the Oppenheimer, right? Also a little bit of science, the technicality, the technique, and the whatever it is, the technicality or techniques, and the strength and the force, right? Some muscle, some muscle, some muscle for them to go on the ground, to put the sewers, to put the bricks, the bricks, the bricks, such as in construction worker as well. And the Dionysian, the more Barbie, could be somebody now in going for, I know, dance class, right? A dance class, going to do some painting, right? Painting something, some color, right? Doing some arts, doing a painting, brushing, doing a little bit of arts, doing a little bit. Somebody's getting a massage therapy, right? Somebody's getting a manicure. Somebody's getting a foot massage. Somebody's getting kissing. Somebody's kissing now, hugging now. Hopefully, otherwise, what are we fighting to save civilization for? Hopefully, somebody kiss with consent. Somebody making love now, just sitting on the mountain, just embracing right on the mountain, just hugging hard, just loving hard, just holding each other for minutes, just feeling the body, whatever it is, giving pleasure by the touch, with consent, obviously, touching and massaging and whatever it is. That's the Barbie, right? Or dressing up nicely, or for the weekend or for today, or summer, and wearing Barbie Ken like Tart Barbie, or a little bit of each costumes, and embracing some color, some red, some orange, some purple, some rainbow. The Dionysian, eating a meal, enjoying on a terrace, right? Enjoying some peaceful moments with a meal by the river in here in Montreal, by the mountain, giving somebody a good kiss, giving somebody a good hug, and children laughing and playing, and somebody playing with them. Somebody in the daycare is now using the more Dionysian, the Barbie, the Ken, right? They're playing with the children. Their children are crying. You gotta take them playful play again with them. That's more the Barbie, right? That's more the Barbie. Well, today now as I'm doing this video, both are happening, right? Both. Somebody's reading to children, maybe in the daycares, as I love to do, read to children. Now, I wrote a few children's books in both French and English, but I couldn't afford to get a publisher, and money situations, the economics, finance. Which, what is money? Is to buy, sell services or goods. What is money fundamentally? Buy, sell services and goods. Money fundamentally is to buy, sell, and if I would make 1 million, I'm gonna give half to my anonymous sister friend, and it's for me to enable to do more things, and XYZ for us to do more things, and hopefully my DRT theory will be supported. The debt refusion theory, which I believe now for the 21st century is a theory to be moved forward to create the UE Universal Exchange in it. That's why I'm calling on my astrological brother Bill Gates Mark Zuckerberg, and my uncle. I call Monsieur Legault Prime Minister, on which I'm 50-50. I don't agree fully 100% with Legault and some other course of actions, but at the end of the day, he's my Prime Minister. And if there would be an invasion of Quebec, La Belle Province, I would have to rock and roll with him and to get us to fight for the security and the continuity of La Belle Province and Quebec in such a World War III scenario or whatever have you at the end of the day. So some of that one with Legault and with Justin Trudeau with Biden, for them to and across NATO for that matter to support the creation of the UE by the DRT, the Dutch Refusion Treaty. So Oppenheimer represents those aspects of ourselves as individuals and our collective strength, muscle, force, right? Force, strength, force. And now it's being utilized. We have highways. Let's do a meditation across North America. How many trucks? Big trucks. Maybe 156, maybe 93, maybe 418, maybe thousands. Trucks from Mexico, Canada, US, and from Canada, US to with all the goods, right? That's force. When the highways were built with brains and muscle. Mexico, Canada, US, we can take the car and go all the way to Mexico, right? We have that privilege. Built over decades, the highways and big trucks. Thank you, truckers, rock salute you. All of our supply chains with the bacon, the cheese, the rice, all the goods. The rutabagas, the oranges, the avocados, the potatoes, the carrots, the cucumbers, the cherries, the corn, all the products, all the legumes, all the grains, all the vegetables. And loaded up with muscle, right? Some grain, some muscle, right? Now, changing the aqueducts in the farms now in Quebec, harvesting the corn, loading up, or somebody is utilizing some force now to build, I don't know, a pavement, to put on an aqueduct, changing the aqueduct, public works, or garbage now is being picked up somewhere across North America on those big trucks. So force, some strength right back needs to be put in the back of the garbage. Salute the public works. Public works will pick up the garbage, the compost, and the recycling every week. Those three services, which are part of the public sphere, and that's discussed a little bit. Those public services are discussed in Oppenheimer, and there's political discussions, right, which take place and occur in the movie Oppenheimer, which reflect also in Barbie of the left, of the right, or of the center, of the private, of the public, and how we move forward and how we balance the individual and the collective. And I believe in the 21st century, it represents now, as it happened this month, the paradoxical fusion of these movies, which are seemingly very opposite, but they can be complementary instead of being in conflict. The forces represented, the forces and the ideas and the philosophies represented in the movie Barbie, more of a Dionysian, pleasure, colorful, artistic part, can and have to be counterbalanced with the Oppenheimer, the scientific, and the force and the strength and the fire and the force and the strength represented by the movie Oppenheimer, which represents that. And we need to move forward by having complementarity and business together. So Barbie and Oppenheimer doing business together for the greater good, for the individual liberty, and for the greater good. That's fundamentally the essence. Et now in French, en français, le film qui semble être très différent. Oppenheimer, c'est le film bien sûr qui discute, qui analyse, qui montre la vie du scientifique Robert Oppenheimer, qui est le projet Manhattan, qui a fait le développement de la bombe atomique, l'explosion qui représente ce film. On voit même, c'est quand même foncé, c'est un peu noir, un peu comme ténébreux. Tu sais, le mot que j'utilise, c'est ténébreux, un peu comme des ténèbres. C'est Oppenheimer, puis le développement de la bombe atomique par le projet Manhattan, puis la vie d'Oppenheimer, tu sais, parce que c'est lui principalement qui était le chef scientifique du projet Manhattan. Fait le film Oppenheimer, ça représente la force puis la science, mais aussi la force, le feu, tu sais, pour la puissance de la force brute, si on peut dire, parce que l'explosion, le feu, tu sais. Puis Barbie, c'est un film, tu sais, qui représente les arts, la musique, le plaisir que j'appelle dianosique, comme de l'ancien dieu Dionysus, qui représente le plaisir, puis l'amour, les arts, la comédie, toutes des choses-là, le plaisir comme un massage, un bisou, ou des choses comme ça, ou la danse, l'appréciation esthétique. Puis ces films-là, ils ont été fusionnés, ça fait Barbenheimer, ça a fusionné comme un petit paradoxe. Mais ce qu'on a vécu dans le 20e siècle, puis qu'est-ce qu'on vit maintenant au 21e siècle, pour moi, c'est pas un paradoxe, ça reflète culturellement, on connaît, puis comme une solution, parce que je dis en général, puis je fais comme en tant que philosophe, que Barbie doit danser avec Oppenheimer, puis Oppenheimer, soit la force, la puissance doit danser avec Barbie, parce que ça prend les deux ensemble, hein. Les deux ensemble, il faut qu'ils dansent. C'est comme Barbie, ça représente le plaisir, les arts, la couleur, beaucoup de couleurs, arc-en-ciel, puis prendre soin du corps, puis la danse, puis l'appréciation esthétique des arts, des cultures, puis l'amour, ça parle beaucoup d'amour. Puis Oppenheimer, ça représente la force, la puissance, parce que maintenant, je suis en train de parler, je suis en train d'analyser les films, puis la fusion de ces deux films qui semblent contradictoires, mais dans le fond, c'est pour moi, ça représente, il ne faut pas que ça soit en conflit, ni contradictoire, mais complémentaire. Il faut que ça complémente, parce que ces forces-là, il faut que ça complémente en chaque individu, puis dans notre collectif, en tant que Québécois, Québécoise, pour la belle province, puis les Canadiens, Québécois en étant Canadien, puis Québécois, Canadiens étant Nord-Américains aussi, puis faisant partie de la civilisation occidentale, puis pour la paix mondiale aussi, que ça soit. Mais c'est des forces qui semblent, c'est des forces psychologiques qui se reflètent en dedans de nous, qui se reflètent en dedans de notre société, puis c'est toujours une interaction, toujours à trouver l'équilibre et la balance entre l'individu et la société, puis nos forces, nos compétences, puis notre nature aussi, comme moi je l'admets, j'ai de l'agression, mais mes frères et sœurs, j'en sublime, je fais des ponts, je fais l'entraînement physique pour ne faire mal à personne, pour ne nuire à personne, pour ne pas faire mal à personne. Aucun autre citoyen, quand je sors dehors, je m'avais fait l'entraînement au Mont-Royal, pour pas être en conflit. Tu peux dire on peut dire bien des choses, mais on ne peut pas faire des menaces, on ne peut pas faire ci, fait respecter des choses comme ça. Puis ça c'est, moi, j'ai quand même simplifié certaines choses, pour moi. Mais bon, là, ce film-là, ça représente ces deux comme des forces qui semblent en opposition, mais qui doivent être complémentaires. En dedans de chacun de nous, citoyens et citoyens de la belle province, des Canadiens, de l'Amérique du Nord, puis civilisation occidentale, puis même en étant universel dans le monde entier aussi. Oppenheimer, la force, la puissance, avec quand même la science qui doit être en équilibre avec les forces de la culture, les arts, c'est pour le plaisir. Comme maintenant, on utilise ça. Maintenant, qui utilise les forces que j'appelle du film Barbie, ça, la compréhension, l'amour, des choses comme ça pour le plaisir, de la culture des arts. Maintenant, pas dans mes provinces, au Canada et en Amérique du Nord, ils sont en train de danser. Il y a du monde qui danse, qui s'amuse, qui s'aime, qui se donne des câlins. Fait que c'est super important de donner des câlins, avec consentement bien sûr, qui reçoit un massage. Des forces de puissance, quelqu'un qui est en train de peindre une peinture, faire de l'art, de la musique, composer une chanson, une scène de film, et tout ça, faire de la peinture, mettre des habillements en couleur, puis créer des vêtements, des choses comme ça de la culture. Puis Oppenheimer, les forces de la puissance, des muscles, du feu, la puissance, la force. Maintenant, quelqu'un dans les fermes utilise la force dans les camions, pour embarquer les produits dans les camions, pour changer les aqueducs. Merci, salut nos travailleurs publics qui sont en train de changer les aqueducs. C'est des muscles qui utilisent la force pour mettre du ciment, du béton, bien aller dans dessous, puis mettre les égouts, les aqueducs, bien faire. C'est aussi de la force qu'ils utilisent. C'est la puissance. Ça, si on peut dire des muscles qui sont en train d'utiliser quelque part, à travers Montréal, mais pas loin de chez nous. Le travail public change les aqueducs. Merci, merci, merci. Parce qu'il faut que je change. Puis la civilisation, ça requiert des muscles et du cerveau ensemble. Il faut que ça danse. Comme pour le 21e siècle, les forces qui sont dans ces films-là, il faut que ça soit complémentaire. Parce que le film Barbie, ça représente notre désir pour le plaisir, pour s'amuser, avoir du fun, puis l'esthétique, puis l'entraînement physique, la danse, la culture, la musique, l'amour. Il faut que ça danse ensemble avec la force, la puissance. comme dans les sports, on sublime, on canalise. T'sais, maintenant dans les camions, on est en train de mettre du sable, en train d'avoir de ciment, des blocs de ciment, les canons d'aqueduc, des gros canons d'aqueduc, que les mettre en dessous, ça passe avec, sont en bottes de cap d'acier, on les salue, puis dans les constructions, puis à travers les chantiers des travaux publics, ils sont en train de ranger les nids de poules, ça prend de la force, ça prend de la puissance, puis il faut que ça soit, faut pas que ça soit en conflit avec les désirs de plaisir, des arts, de la culture, il faut que ça danse ensemble. Fait que Barbie, le film Barbie, ou les forces que le film Barbie représente, sont le plaisir, le plaisir, la compréhension, l'amour, les arts, il faut que ça danse avec, pas en conflit, mais complémentaire, puis en tant que de coopération avec les puissances de Oppenheimer. C'est comme un peu paradoxal, mais c'est ça que ça prend du 21e siècle aussi, parce qu'on a des bombes nucléaires, on a l'arme, on a la puissance, des camions, des constructions, des choses que ça requiert de la force. Puis ça, on fait du sport, on fait du sport, on s'entraîne, puis l'esthétique des muscles, ça représente toujours une danse en tant qu'individu, puis en tant que le collectif. Fait dans Amérique du Nord, il faut que c'est les forces qui représentent le film Barbie, puis le film Oppenheimer, il faut que ça danse ensemble pour la liberté individuelle, la prospérité et la sécurité. Pour la sécurité, qu'on excuse la liberté, la prospérité, puis la renaissance, puis pour l'avenir. Fait que c'est un peu une analyse psychologique, sociale, puis moins un peu spirituelle, parce que c'est aussi la libération des nouvelles forces, qui se passent, comme avec Barbie, ça des forces sexuelles, psychologiques, qui des fois sont mal comprises, puis des fois, il faut qu'on les sublime, puis on analyse comme l'agression, il faut qu'on sublime, puis pour ne pas faire mal à aucun autre citoyen, puis la sublimation, faire des actions comme l'entraînement physique, super important, pour pas ne pas faire mal à aucun autre citoyen, tout ça, puis même pour pas y aller à une troisième guerre mondiale, dans le fond, parce qu'on est proche peut-être. Ces forces-là qui sont dans le film Oppenheimer, puis dans le film Barbie, c'est des forces qui doivent être complémentaires. Puis ces forces-là, ils ont une dimension psychologique, sociale, puis même ça touche à des points de vue économiques, puis quoi que ce soit. L'idée de faire justice sociale, puis toutes les activités qu'on fait, puis qu'il faut que ça danse ensemble. La force, la puissance. Il faut pas qu'on soit dirigé seulement par la force. Il faut pas qu'on soit dirigé seulement par la puissance. Ça en fait partie, parce que des fois, ça requiert. Ça requiert la force. Mais pour faire ça, il faut faire ça. Comme les pompiers, je les salue, je les aime, je change de rock'n'roll pour eux autres. Des fois, il faut qu'ils utilisent des blocs de ciment, il faut qu'ils fassent ça. Puis les événements, il faut qu'on utilise la force. Mais il ne faut pas qu'on soit juste dirigé en tant qu'individu, puis en tant que collectif seulement par la force. Il faut qu'on ait l'amour, la compréhension, puis de se faire plaisir, que j'appelle les forces dionysiaques de Dionysus, qui représente le dieu des fêtes, de la boisson, de l'alcool, de tout ça, du vin, dans le fond, de Bacchus, puis les forces du Bacchus, représentées par les forces de Mars, si on veut, en faisant une référence comme ça. Fait que, faut que ça danse ensemble. Gotta dance together. Merci, thank you. Peut-être je vais faire le suivi de ça. Maybe I'm gonna do the future follow-up of this. But amour et santé, je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. I encourage you all to work out, train, exercise, and rock and roll. Time to move for have some lunch and clean my room. I gotta dust and I gotta write some rock and roll, some poetry, emails, and I'm open for business 24/7. Ouvert pour les affaires. Faut que ça danse ensemble. Les forces d'Oppenheimer puis de Barbie. Oppenheimer forces gotta dance with Barbie forces. Complementary 21st century, 21e siècle. Amour et santé, love and health.